Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Pauline Matindan Garcia. If you're new to our speaker series program, I am the Director of Care Transition for Livingston. I have been part of the Livingston team for about 4 years now, and in my role, I help our patients and work very closely with our care providers in the community as they help their patients navigate care options in the home. So it's really been a gratifying and fulfilling experience for me to be able to be part of an organization that allows our community to access medical care and other resources in the comfort of their own home. So I will be moderating today's presentation. Today's topic is nurturing grief. But before I introduce our speaker, I'm going to go over a few housekeeping notes. Today's presentation will be recorded and will be available for viewing on our website. Any questions that you may have, I believe James already started the chat kind of string on our Zoom. So please use the chat function in your Zoom app to enter any questions that you may have. We will do our best to answer all those questions during the presentation. All the questions and answer will also be posted on our website post the presentation. If you run into any technical issues, please feel free to use the chat function as well to reach out to us, and we will do our best to help troubleshoot any technical issues that you're having. So without any further ado, I will go ahead and introduce our speaker for today. She's our very own Director of Grief and Bereavement Program, Stacia Sickle. Stacia is a licensed clinical social worker for over 30 years. She joined Camarillo Hospice as a volunteer in 2012 and as a staff member in January of 2014. Stacia received her Bachelor's of Arts in Sociology from UCLA in 1985 and Master's of Social Work from USC in 1988. She has previous experience as a social worker at Charter Hospital of Long Beach and Children's Hospital of Los Angeles Hematology and Oncology Program. Along with overseeing the grief and bereavement program, Stacia counsels bereaved clients, facilitates grief support groups, and supervises student interns, associate counselors, and volunteer group facilitators. So, welcome, it's Stacia. Thank you.
So I thought maybe I'd tell you all a little bit about our program in case you don't know about us. So we are a free program to Ventura County residents, and that's families, individuals, schools, organizations, and businesses who are in need of grief support. The program's services include grief counseling, grief support groups in Camarillo, Ojai, and Ventura, Oxnard as well. Community grief and bereavement education, volunteer training for support group facilitators, and our Life Story program, which is a service to residents who want to record their life story. We also provide school-based support groups in Ventura, Oxnard, Camarillo, Santa Paula, and Port Hueneme school districts. The grief and bereavement team is made up of licensed clinicians, associate clinicians, graduate students, and volunteers. Our funding comes from donations and grants, as well as fundraising, and our counseling office is located in Camarillo. If you know of somebody who is in need of grief support, please feel free to give them our number and have them call us. They can reach us at 805-389-6870. Okay. So today, I am here to talk to you about grief rituals. The death of someone we love is painful. The grief we feel is a natural and normal response to loss and requires us to mourn. Mourning is a path to healing and reconciliation. To grieve well is to take the pain we feel on the inside and express it outside of us. One way we can do that is through rituals. Our ancestors used rituals as a way of honoring their experiences. Rituals can express our deepest longings and are often derived from family, culture, religion, or simply oneself. They provide us with meaning, structure, and connection. We perform daily rituals. Many of us don't even associate that these are rituals for us. These rituals are things like making our beds every morning, brushing our teeth before bed, special toasts we may make at holidays, something we wear on special occasions, what we do before we start our cars, how we prepare for a vacation. There are holiday rituals, birthday rituals, rites of passage rituals, and funeral rituals. Whether daily or on special occasions, these rituals tell our stories of who we are and what's important to us. So how do rituals help with grief? They promote an acceptance of the death. They provide us with the opportunity for processing emotions. They help us feel connected to the person who died. They give us a sense of control, meaning, routine, and expression of beliefs and values. They offer healing and insight. Unfortunately, our society has slowly been moving away from death and grief rituals. Many of us may not know or understand what elements or resources we need for an effective ritual. I'd like to explore effective elements of a ritual, but first, let's identify the various types of grief rituals. Continuity, a ritual in which the connection to your loved one is affirmed and acknowledged as ongoing. Transition, a ritual that acknowledges healing and movement from a place of pain. Reconciliation, a ritual that amends or forgives. An affirmation, a ritual of acknowledgement and confirmation of your connection with your loved one. So what do we need for an effective ritual? First, the ritual should reflect your personal loss, belief system, and your surroundings. Choose a meaningful object that has a special connection to the person who died. It can be a piece of jewelry, an article of clothing, a photograph. If you cannot think of an object, you can choose something that is symbolic to you. Maybe something from the natural environment, a rock, flower, feather, seashell. You can use water, music. Next, make it sacred. This is important in order to distinguish this from your normal everyday routines and experiences. You can light a candle, say a prayer, read a poem, go to a special place, tell a story, recite a mantra or an intention. These can be used in the beginning and end of your ritual. Incorporate movement. Our body holds our grief, and movement can help us express and process difficult feelings. You can take a walk in nature, visit your loved one's burial site. You can dance to a song that reflects how you feel or speaks to your loss. You can go to the beach and walk along the water. Interact with your sacred object in a way that feels right to you. For example, if you wrote a letter to your loved one, you could read it out loud, tear the paper, and burn it, releasing your thoughts and emotions. You can paint a rock in honor of something you would like to let go, and then take the rock to the ocean and throw it into the water. Many people create small altars in their home and place special objects on the altar, treating this as a sacred space. You can simply hold your object and speak out loud to your thoughts and feelings. The key is to express whatever comes up for you in your grief ritual. Closure. Before closing your ritual, I want to encourage you to sit in quiet contemplation, allowing yourself time to reflect, acknowledge, and feel. Creating a closing is important. You can recite a mantra, poem, prayer. You can meditate, or simply blow out a candle you lit to begin the ritual. This helps to mark the ending of your ritual and the return to your daily activities. Repeat. Rituals increase in their significance and power when repeated. You may decide to have simpler rituals every day that honor your loved one and your grief journey. You may construct more elaborate rituals when honoring your loved one on their birthday or on holiday. It can be helpful to ask yourself these questions when planning a grief ritual. What is it you want to acknowledge in this ritual? What is it you want to say? What do you need from this ritual? What symbols hold meaning for you? And how can you incorporate them in your ritual? What do you need to create a ritual to express your needs? Who might you want to share this with? When will you perform the ritual? So I'd like to give you some examples of some rituals that we've done with clients or clients have shared with us. So the first is a tear ritual. So this is when you would find something you can fill with water, which will represent your tears. Empty your tears into any body of water. We have this beautiful Pacific Ocean in which you could do that. And as your tears blend in, know you are not alone in your sorrow and grief. We walk the journey of grief alongside one another, sharing, guiding, and holding each other. Next is a memorial wreath. Our ancestors would often place wreaths on their front doors as a sign of bereavement. Making a memorial wreath provides us with a simple way to memorialize your loved one and integrate your loved one into holiday celebrations. It can also be placed on an altar or used in a ritual. Next is a 5-candle ritual. So I've used this ritual oftentimes at Thanksgiving with those who are at my table. And so you would place 5 candles on a table. As you light each candle, you would read or say aloud the following. This light represents my grief, the sorrow and pain of losing someone I loved and cherished, the depths of my love and our relationship. This light represents my courage, the strength to live on without you and the support I have found in others. This light represents my memory of you, memories of joy, memories of challenging times, and of the dreams we had for our future together, the memories of you and me. This light represents my love, the love we shared and created, and the cherished place in my heart where you will always live. And this light represents hope. Hope that as we make our way through grief, we will discover inner courage. We will take comfort in our memories, and we will know that once found, hope can never be lost and will continue to grow as we share it with others. Planting as a ritual. So the intention of planting something can be done to acknowledge your loss, affirm your loved one's life, your relationship, or to recognize an anniversary, birthday, or a special event around the loss. It can be as simple or as complex as you choose to make it. It can include others, and you can add to the planting ritual any way you'd like, such as creating a formal ceremony, reciting a special reading, playing music, having your loved one's favorite food. It can be performed inside or outside. Find a place in your garden or your loved one's favorite spot. Create a blessing. For example, we move this earth to make way for the seeds of life in memory of you. And as we witness the growth of this flower, tree, plant, we can be reminded of you and your life here and how it has touched us. We will be reminded of the beauty that your life has brought to the world. Another one is rosemary for remembrance. So rosemary has been a symbol of love and remembrance at both weddings and funerals. For loved ones who have died, rosemary is a symbol of love and a promise not to forget the impact they have had on your life and the memories shared. So simply lighting a candle. Lighting a candle is a symbol of hope and remembrance. It is also universal representation of bringing light to darkness. Buy a candle, you can decorate it if you'd like, and light it on special occasions or when performing a ritual. A memory tree. So this tradition is rooted in Northern Ireland and Scotland. A tree is decorated with ribbons or strips of cloth, which represent a prayer, a wish, a memory, or a hope. Daily journal writing. Find a comfortable place for writing and write about your grief experience every day. You can start by lighting a candle, reading a poem, meditation, then open your journal and allow yourself to write whatever comes to you. When finished, you can say a prayer, a mantra, whatever you need to close, and then blow out the candle. Create an altar, a place you go to remember and grieve. You can place photos of your loved one, special objects, flowers, candles on the altar. In the Mexican culture, families create altars to honor their loved ones during Dia de los Muertos. This is observed on November 2nd. They are adorned with photographs, personal belongings, candles, sugar skulls, flowers, typically they're marigolds, incense, and more. Livingston's Light Up a Light. Every December, Livingston conducts a community ritual of remembrance. There is music, readings, and acknowledgement of loved ones who have died. This year, the event will be held in Oxnard on December 2nd and Camarillo on December 9th. I hope you can all join us.
Stacia, I'm sorry, before we move on, before we move to the next topic, we have a question from Carol. She's asking if you could just briefly go over the tear ritual again. She missed that.
Okay, so I'll go back to the tear ritual. Is when you find something in which you can fill with water that will represent your tears. And then you take that container and you will empty it into a body of water. So as I mentioned, we've got the beautiful Pacific Ocean. And as you empty that water that represents your tears into the ocean, you know you're not alone in your sorrow and grief. And as I mentioned, we walk the journey of grief alongside one another. We are sharing, guiding, and holding each other. So it's a bit of a ritual in which I am releasing my tears into a bigger body of water that represents everyone's tears. Okay. So these are just a few examples, and you may decide to incorporate different rituals as your grief experience changes, but the gift of a good ritual is its ability to help us express our grief, our thoughts, and our feelings. When mourning a death, rituals can give order and meaning in a time of chaos and confusion. They allow the living to feel connected to the dead and that which is sacred. Rituals promote acceptance of the loss, emotional expression, and a sense of purpose. Rituals can help us incorporate the loss into the larger tapestry of our life. Loss is part of life. Creating rituals of healing give our grief momentum and move us towards healing and reconciliation. So I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about rituals with you. And if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Another question that came up, if you're able to provide other examples of ritual acts.
Okay, so I had mentioned that it's a great question. There were I think there's 4 rituals that I talked about: the continuity ritual, transition, reconciliation, and affirmation. So I'll just give some examples of those. So a continuity ritual is, say, lighting a candle on special days to honor them, or you may have a specific thing that you do every year on their birthday. For example, my family on some of our loved ones' birthdays have chosen to have dinner somewhere which was their favorite. So I lost a nephew at 16. His favorite food is Chinese food. So every December 19th, wherever we are, we go out for Chinese food and honor him. So that's continuity ritual, right? We can do this also by preparing your loved ones a special meal, or carrying something that belonged to your loved one with you as a way of connecting to them. A transition ritual is one where we're kind of moving from one place to the other. So an idea of this is if I am a widow or widower, lost my spouse, I may choose to create a ritual at some point when I feel I'm ready to remove my wedding ring. So I'm transitioning from that of being married to that of being a widow or widower. Right? Our funeral ceremonies are transitional rituals. And you can use candle lighting and meditation rituals for this as well. Or the tear ceremony, right? If I'm moving from this great place of pain I've been in and my grief is softening and I want to have a ritual as I transition into making life good again, I can use that ritual as well. A reconciliation ritual is when I mentioned writing a letter to your loved one. If I have maybe unfinished business that wasn't reconciled at the time of death, or there's things I need to let go of. This is the type of ritual I might look for. And so writing a letter to my loved one, reading it out loud, tearing that up, burning it, releasing it as a symbol of reconciling, right? We have rituals of reconciliation in your journal writing, or perhaps if there's something I need to make amends with, maybe a forgiveness ritual in which I have written a letter asking for forgiveness, and I light a candle and I read that, and then maybe do the same thing, tear that up, burn it to release it. So reconciliation is a form of kind of resolving. Okay. An affirmation ritual, these are ones where they affirm our connection to our loved one. So we can do gratitude rituals. We may have rituals around visiting their place of burial, a gravesite we may do. We may create an altar as mentioned, or we might have certain memorial rituals we use on special days. The planting a tree or a flower is another type of affirmation ritual. So I hope that gave some examples for that.
Yes. Another question that came up, can you provide examples of rituals to do with children experiencing grief?
So you can use any of these rituals with children, and I think children really appreciate being included in these things. So a planting ritual could be something I think children would really enjoy, as well as with the children we work with, we'll often have them decorate a jar in which they call their memory jar, and they ask family throughout the year to write on strips of paper and put into the jar memories of the loved one who died. And then at times like a birthday of their loved one or Thanksgiving, they pass the jar around the table and everybody reads the memories together. So that's one that I know that children really like. I think children like rituals that involve some kind of activity for them. Journal writing, I'm not sure children would necessarily. Maybe older children, teens might enjoy that kind of ritual. So.
The last question that I have might be a bit more comprehensive is how long will grief usually last?
So I wish that I could say to you guys, oh, a year. Like within a year, your grief will have softened. I can't. Grief is really unique and it depends on so many characteristics. It depends on your relationship with your loved one, your own personality, your own experiences with death and loss. So the key here is that grief is a very unique experience and there is no timetable to grief. What we hope is that as you lean into your grief, meaning you take that which you feel on the inside and bring it outside yourself, such as in rituals or talking about it or joining a support group, doing things that give your grief a voice, that it will begin to soften. But the reality is that grief doesn't end. It softens, and then there will be triggers. So I know that on holidays, I can't help but think about my loved ones. And I have a moment where I'm missing them, or I feel sad, but it isn't debilitating. So what we hope is that grief over time will soften, but it doesn't end. That's just my take.
Is there any other questions for Stacia? Please feel free to send them via the chat function, or you can also unmute and ask the question directly to Stacia. Okay. Thank you so much for participating in this month's speaker series. The presentation, like I mentioned, will be posted on our website in a few days once we've edited, and we'll also include all the questions and answers that were brought up in today's presentation. Thank you all for being here. Have a good day. Bye-bye.